Welcome back, football fans, to a Europa League Final special here on the channel. Tottenham against Manchester United in Bilbao, winner takes all in terms of Champions League qualification. A quick look at the odds before we get going. You can see that it is pretty evenly matched, and Manchester United narrow favourites at 2.45. We will go back to Bet365 later in the video when we put our own predictions together, but first we're going to look at the standout statistics for both of these teams across the season. Then we're going to look at the player props data. I'm going to show you the top 5 players for key metrics that will help you put together a winning selection for this massive fixture. So without further ado, let's go and see if Ange Postecoglou is going to always win something in his second season. We will start by opening the feed on odd alerts, and we can see that Wednesday the 21st of May. Now, I always feel this is a bit of a disservice to the day of Thursday because all previous Europa League games come on a Thursday. As soon as the final comes around, Thursday's not good enough. Let's have it on Wednesday. So Tottenham against Manchester United, here we go. We're looking at the overall form, and we can see that both teams have won 64% of their Europa League games. Now, if we're talking about form, it's not even worth looking at their Premier League form because it is so vastly different. If we look at their Europa League games here for Tottenham, we can see they've lost just twice. Very, very good run. They've beat some decent teams, especially across 2 legs as well. And the same goes for Manchester United. Now, for Man United, what you should be looking at here is the number of goals scored in the Europa League compared to the Premier League. I mean, they scored 7 against Bilbao. They scored 7 against Lyon, including 5 at Old Trafford. They've scored 5 against Sociedad across 2 legs again. They are doing something different in the Europa League, and I think Amorim coming up against European teams might suit him a little bit more tactically. But they're not coming up against a European team in this fixture. Let's now take a look at the Premier League records for both of these teams, and it is truly abysmal. Tottenham is 17th. Any other manager, any other time, would have certainly been sacked already. Even to be 10th, 11th, 12th is a sackable offence historically at Spurs. They've won 1 game since February, and that came against relegated Southampton. They have conceded 2 or more goals in the majority of those games. And when you toggle to Manchester United here, it does not get any better. No victory since March. There are only 2 victories since January. I mean, 3 of the 4 victories, this might be a better way to say this, 3 of the 4 victories in the Premier League have come against Southampton, Ipswich and Leicester. So in the second half of the season, 75% of wins have come against the relegated teams. That is terrible, awful, abysmal, shocking, disgraceful, whatever you want to call it. That is not Manchester United. Now we will take a look at goals, and what we saw on the results tab is sort of echoed here. Manchester United scoring more goals in the Europa League so far this season, 2.5 per game. Tottenham with a slightly better defensive record, 0.93 goals conceded per game. There has not been a 0-0 overall this season. There's not been a 0-0 in the Europa League for either of these teams. Clean sheet in just 21% of games for Manchester United. BTTS or over 2.5 goals in 86% of games. There has been a goal, as we saw, in every game. There has been 2 or more goals in every game for Manchester United, who I do think will score in this game. I do think they'll score. One thing to note as we jump to the predicted lineups in a second, one thing to note is Manchester United didn't really rotate against against Chelsea. Tottenham did rotate against Aston Villa. So let's see how that plays out. Who will have the fresher legs in the first 20-30 minutes and in the last 20-30 minutes? Quick look at cards before we check the predicted lineups, and we can see the average of 4.5 cards per game for Manchester United, which is slightly more. They have received a card in 93% of games. Tottenham's discipline has been pretty good. 43% of games saw them receiving 2 or more cards. This is, of course, a final. The referee is Felix Zoya, one of the best, was involved in the Champions League semi-finals as well. We can see here first half cards, 1.84 is quite high. I think his Champions League record, his average is about 2.4 this season in terms of first half cards, so that could be something to look out for. 80.5% of games saw both teams getting booked. I think that's a safe bet for this final, both teams to get booked. Now then, let's take a look at the predicted lineups so we can see which players will be on the field to get booked. This is the predicted lineups tool. It is a brand new tool on Odd Alerts. You can access it for any fixture. And this, of course, is the Europa League Final. And we can see we've got Tottenham and we've got Manchester United. We'll start with Spurs because their defenders will be returning. Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie. That is their strongest back four lineup, no doubt about that. Where it gets a little bit weaker for Tottenham is the midfield. Bissouma, got a mistake in him. He can lose the ball. He can be pressurised by Manchester United, and I'm sure they will be aware of that. He commits fouls. He commits mistakes as well. Next to him, Bentancur, good player, but I don't think he's been on it this season at all times, in and out of the team through injuries and suspension. And Pape Sarr, a good player, to be fair to him, but it lacks creativity, that midfield. You're asking a lot of Bentancur, who usually is the one that just recycles possession, keeps things tidy. He is going to be asked to try and find Brennan Johnson, try and find Solanke, Heung-min Son, and they are the front three. That brings us to the front three, the predicted front three. Bergvall has travelled, apparently. This is the latest rumour about, 30 hours before kickoff, that he could make the squad. Maddison is out, Kulusevski is out, but Bergvall could make this game. He was awarded Player of the Year at Tottenham recently, and it would be a big boost if they could have him in the team, because he's a little bit more creative, bit of a better engine going up and down the pitch than those players that you see on the screen there. Now we look at Manchester United, and this is the predicted lineup as well. It's got Lindelof in there. I do actually think that Lenny Yoro will play, but he got a knock, didn't he? So that's why Lindelof is in there. Luke Shaw played in the previous game on Friday, so I'm not sure, pun intended, if he will play in this one. Dorgu, Casemiro, Ugarte, Diallo. Massive game for Diallo, back from injury. Good timing. He could be the hero. He really could. He's such a good player when he's on it, as is this man here, Bruno Fernandes. And then the rest of the attack, Rasmus Højlund and Garnacho. You never know what you're going to get with them. Højlund has been largely ineffective. But these two players, for me, Diallo and Fernandes, can change the game for Manchester United in an instant. Not too much from Dorgu as of yet, but again, this is a big game for any player to step up and make a moment to remember. Now in this section, we are going to be looking at player props, and I'm going to be showing you the top 5 players for a few different metrics, starting with fouls. Now, all of the metrics you see here are across the last 10 games, and you can access all of this data. You can access last 5, last 365 days, last 20 games, 15, 5, whatever you want on the player props tool. The link is in the description. Very, very powerful tool. So number 5 for fouls then, it is Destiny Udogie. 7 starts for him, and obviously he's made up those 10 appearances with substitute appearances, and during that time 619 minutes, 1.43 fouls per 90. So that is a good option, especially with Amad Diallo up against him in this game. He likes to commit a foul, doesn't he? Number 4 is Romero for Tottenham, and I'll just tell you now, there is only one Manchester United player in this top 5. So Romero in at number 4 for fouls committed, 1.57 per game. He has looked a little bit sluggish since he came back into the team now. In third is Dejan Kulusevski, who will not be playing, but when he does commit a few fouls, 1.6 per game across 509 minutes. Now then, Bissouma, who we mentioned previously, 1.67 fouls. He is second, and number 1 for fouls across the last 10 games is Patrick Dorgu, 1.8 across his last 10 games, 715 minutes as well, so more minutes than anyone else in the top 5. Next up, we will be taking a look at shots on target, and again, we are going to do the top 5. And starting in 5th place is somebody who probably will be on the bench for this one. It is Richarlison, 1.75 shots per game across his last 10 appearances. In 4th spot, another Tottenham player, the player that will be playing in place of him, it is Dominic Solanke, 1.78 per game. And then in 3rd, again, it is another Tottenham player, 1.8 shots per game, Heung-min Son. What a game this could be for him. Big moment. There's rumours that he may leave Spurs this summer. And in 2nd place, by quite a distance, there's a bit of a gap here, 2.4 shots per game. He shoots a lot but doesn't score enough. In my opinion, it is Alejandro Garnacho, 2.4 shots per game. I'm sure he'll have at least one shot in this one. And then top of the pile, what a player, Bruno Fernandes, across his last 10 appearances, 2.78 shots per game. And we will end the player props section by taking a look at yellow cards. Again, always across the last 10 games for this video. And we will do the top 5 again in reverse order. And let me just tell you, this is dominated by Manchester United players here. In 5th, we have Diego Dalot with 3 cards in his last 10 games. And ahead of him, but also on the same number of cards, is Matthias Tell with 3 in his last 10 games. Fewer minutes played, incidentally, for Tell. Patrick Dorgu also has 3 cards in his last 10 games. He looks good for a foul. Could he be a good option for a card as well? Lenny Yoro, 4 cards in his last 4 games, puts him 2nd with 768 minutes played. And the top player, who very well could be booked in this one, Manuel Ugarte, 4 cards as well in his last 10 games from just 629 minutes played. Who are you on for a card in this one? Who will get the most cards? That could be a very good option for this game. So now to Bet365, we're going to use all of the data that we've just seen in this video, and we're going to process it and try and put together some sensible and hopefully profitable selections for this huge final. So my first selection here, 10, so 9 to 1, Udogie and Ugarte to be booked. I think it's pretty obvious, isn't it? It's the obvious choice here, and I will come back to these 2 players when we look at foul markets as well. But this is my first selection, 9 to 1. Let me know what you think about this. A couple of players to be booked. I don't usually do bookings, but I just feel like these players, Udogie up against Diallo, Ugarte just being Ugarte. Interesting to see if Casemiro plays as well, because if he plays, also a good option for a foul and a booking. So that is my first double. Let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a minute. So here is my second selection. Now, we saw the foul rankings, we saw the card rankings. They were dominated by Manchester United players. Bissouma, I do think, is a good option for a foul and a card as well. I just don't trust him in a game of this magnitude. He could come out and have a player blinder, but he's let the team down quite a few times, let's put it that way. Garnacho to have a shot on target, both teams to score. I think there'll be goals in this final for sure. There always is when these teams are involved. We saw it in the results at the start of the video. And Man United to get the most cards, leaning into the data that we saw at the start. 5.5. Very good option. Very, very good. So that is my second selection. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments. I'm going to go ahead and see if there's any more value I can find. So another selection, I'm really enjoying the odds here, to be fair. Bruno Fernandes to commit a foul was a lot higher than I thought it would be. We know he's got it in him in a big game, and he'll commit a tactical foul, no questions asked, for the team. Even dissent or something like that, you know, he's capable. Most corners, Tottenham, that's landed in the majority of games for Spurs. They've had an awful lot of corners, especially at home. This is a neutral venue, of course, so it might be a little bit different, but the way they play, Son and Brennan Johnson out wide, it's a big part of how they play, trying to get balls into Solanke, and that leads to more corners, I think. And Bissouma to commit a foul, if he starts, I think he will. So obviously all of these, you know, you have to check the teams, but the predicted lineups, you would think, given the injuries, I mean, Bruno Fernandes is going to start. Bissouma, you would imagine, starts because of the injuries at Tottenham at the moment, unless Bergvall comes in from nowhere, but I don't think it's going to happen. So 3.75, yeah, really liking these. Let me see if there's anything else I can do. So here's one as well. I was trying to just keep adding to that. I was looking at player prop options, but actually this one without a player is a good option because you can have it regardless. You don't need to wait for the lineups. The price might drop. 3.4, a card in the first half for Manchester United. The referee, Felix Ziegler, does get his cards out in the first half. And for me, given the data we looked at previously, I'm just going to lean towards Manchester United in terms of getting that card in the first half. And then over 2.5 goals. I think we could see a cracking game here. I really do think we're going to see a fantastic game here. So that is another one. Let me just check. I mean, we're on a roll here. We keep finding selections. This is number 4, is it? Wow, this is pretty crazy. So my final selection, this one is for fun. I've never used this market before, but I think those odds were fantastic. 4.5 for Solanke to have a headed shot on target. He's scored a few headers already this season, and that's not even counting just the ones that he, you know, gets on target. Of course, this is a outsider bet, but you know, speaking of outside, Bruno Fernandes to have a shot on target outside the box. This one is for fun, 9.5, just playing around with these new markets on Bet365. So yeah, that has been the selections. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Now to the outro. So that has been my preview. We've looked at player prop data, we've looked at the stats from their Europa League campaigns and the recent dismal form. What I want to know now is your predictions. Get them in the comments. Any comment automatically entered into a draw to win Odd Alerts Pro. I will see you in the next one. I think Tottenham are going to lift the trophy.